Okay, so here's the 3 boxes that the bike carrier came in. The longest box on the bottom there measures just over 2 meters long. So that gives you an idea of the size of these boxes. Anyway, I'll crack these boxes open and start assembling this bike carrier. Okay, just opening up the first box here. Okay guys, so this is the contents of that first box that I opened. Now, first thing that I've really made notice of is the quality of this stuff. This looks good. Now you can see the turnbuckles there. Sorry about fairly heavy duty. The LED lights, there's straps, some bolts there, and then there's those packet of bolts and bits and pieces there. These zip ties there, that would be for the wiring of the lights. And then there's these other components there, and then that one there. So yeah, so far I'm pretty impressed. Okay, just about to open the second box now. Let's get into it. Yeah, so this is the ramp. It's pretty good. Very good. Put that down there. So it's an aluminium ramp, fairly lightweight. Just the tubing there. A couple of tie downs. What else have we got? Front tie down, a couple of bolts, and saying main bar on that, so that's what they are. So I'll just put these aside now and open the other box. So have a look at that. That looks fantastic. Alrighty, I'll grab it out of the box and then we'll start putting this together. First thing you're supposed to do is put this section into the drawbar of the car. So I've just simulated that, just on this bench here, a couple of clamps, got a couple of planks under here to give it some weight so it'll hold it. Okay, so the next step is to place the channel up here and bolt it in. There are 3 holes here that this channel bolts into. You'll notice along the channel there are bolts already in the holes. So yeah, at least that's telling you where they all go. So I've just pulled one of these bolts out. So these 3 bolts here will go in here. There's 18mm on one end, 19mm on the other. I've just checked those. So yeah, there's a nylock lock nut on one end. So that's the way they go. Nuts go on the inside. So I'll just go ahead and take these off. Okay, I'll go ahead, tighten those up and come back to you. Okay, the next step is to put the nose cone on. There is a bag of bolts saying nose cone written on them. So there's 6 bolts here, 6 nuts, and it looks like 12 washers. Now the instructions say, so the nose cone goes over here, 3 bolts on each side. The bolts go through this way, the nuts are on the inside. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay guys, the next step is to mount the brackets for the lights. So the bigger bracket goes up the front wheel side, so it would be the left-hand side, and smaller bracket goes on the right-hand side. The bigger bracket holds the number plate as well. So up this end of the rack, this bolt is already installed in here. You've just got to tighten this nut up. There's a washer and spring washer and nut. So yeah, I'll grab some spanners and tighten that up. And the idea is there's there's 2 nuts and 2 washers. So once you've tightened that up, you grab another nylock nut, screw it in around about halfway down the thread, and then you put the washer on. So halfway down the thread, washer on. Then this bracket goes hard up against that nylock nut, and then you put another washer and a nut on that, and that tightens it up. And so that's how it's installed. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay guys, the next step, install the LED lights. Now I'll give you a bit of a closer look here. This light here, you can see there's the LED light underneath. This one doesn't. So this one's for lighting up the number plate. So that goes on the the left hand side of the vehicle, and this one goes on the right hand side. So there, this is the number plate side, goes on there, and just on the back of that there's just 2 like a washer and a nut on each one of those. So I'll go ahead and install those now. Okay, so there's just a cable tie holding these together. Okay, so with the wiring, here's the center of the bar, and the instructions say to have this V, the joint in the wiring, just sitting at the top there, and then I've fed the wire down through this hole, and then there's another hole on the other side. So yeah, there's the loom there, got to wire that in yet to the adapter. But then, using these cable ties, there's holes, there's 8 of these holes, 4 on each side, that run all the way up to the light there. So I'll go ahead and tie that off on both ends, all the way up there as well. Yeah, so with these cable ties, I'll try and do it with one hand. You just feed them through like that, then around, back through the hole, and then it'll be back through this end here. But basically it's saying to work from the center, tie each one off, and then keep working your way along to the second hole there, and keep working your way along. So I'll go and do this first one now. Okay guys, so I've just cable tied in 4 places there on the, I suppose the left hand side of the bar. You might be able to see that. Focus. Yeah, so it's fairly neat looking. There's a little bit of excess there, which they say just to tuck in behind. But anyway, I'll go ahead and just nip those 4 off. And then I'll go and work on that side now. Okay, so I'll finish up the right hand side. I've just cut them a little bit long just in case I've got to make some adjustments to it. But at the moment, I'll just get rid of that spanner out of the way. So at the moment, that's all done. The wiring's all done. Looks good. Okay, the next step is to bolt on this bar here. And that goes in where those two bolts there are at the front. So there are two other bolts here for a rear bar, but a rear bar is an optional extra. So I'll just go ahead and bolt this bar in there. Okay, so the next thing we've got to do is put on the eyelets on this crossbar. So there's an eyelet here, and there's an eyelet on the other end. Open this up. There's also a square plastic end to go in there. And there are the eyelets. I'll go ahead and put them on. Okay guys, the next step is to put 4 of these eyelets. There's 2 on this end and there's 2 over here. So I'll go ahead and put these on. There's also a plastic cover. Okay, go ahead and do the rest. Okay, so the next step is to put these ramp brackets on. Now, just looking at the front, or the front wheel end, I've just put that bracket there. Got to tighten it up yet. And the other bracket, this one here, goes on the main arm there that goes into the hitch. So those clamps are there, so I can't put that on at the moment. So when this is hanging off the back of the vehicle, I'll put that on. And there's also 2 straps there supplied, so that would wrap around the ramp when it's in storage along there. So that's how it's held in place. Now, wiring up the 7-pin adapter there, go onto the website, and it gives you some information there. It says if you load from the driver's side, then the indicators will be reversed. So there's the numbers, the pin number and the colour wire you got to do. And then if I just scroll up, so that's the wiring if you have... yeah, I suppose the indicator's the opposite way around. So anyway, I'll go ahead and finish that off. Hang on, I'll just have a look at that. So if you can see, I'll be able to see the writing in there, which actually tells you which pin number is which. Okay, I'll go and do that. Okay guys, so I've just done the wiring job here. Make sure you put the rubber grommet and the screw piece on as well before you tie these in. Pro tip there, because I didn't. Anyway, so this is how I've wired it up as per the instructions. I think the green is I think the right hand signal, the red is stop, white is earth, brown is the running light, it says, and the yellow is the other turn signal. And guys, when you open it up, when you take this cover off, inside in this little plastic bag, there's this little bridge here with 2 screws that screws over the top of the wires there to hold them in place. Okay guys, so I've wired it up. I hope I've got the bridge up the right way. In the picture on the computer it's showing it that way, but it could go down the other way to hold the wires more in place. But that's it, so I'll put the cover on and screw it in. Job done. Looks good. Okay guys, so here's the rack and roll. I've got it on a wheelbarrow and it's just pretty much ready to go into the hitch of the car there. So it's just a few months later, so it's actually 4 months later now, so I'm finally getting around to finishing this video. But you can see the finished item there, and I use this wheelbarrow to cart it around and get it lined up with the car. Makes the job a lot easier because this thing weighs, I don't know, probably at least 40 or 50 kilos. It's pretty heavy, so just putting it on the wheelbarrow makes it a hell of a lot easier. So yeah, it gets it pretty much to the height that I want, which is really handy. So yeah, there's the rack and roll right there. So very quality item, and I've used this I don't know, probably half a dozen times now. It's pretty good. So anyway, let's go through the process of getting this on the back of the Land Cruiser. Of lifting it in there, and that's it. I'll get this wheelbarrow out of the way. Okay, I'll bring you down here now. Okay, so there are some of these shims which take out a little bit of the slop, so I can slide that. And they're just going to bring it out a fraction. Right. So there it goes there. And then, so yeah, first of all, make sure that shim is in, and it is. And then I'll just tighten this up. Rightio guys, so I've got the nut in, so the main hitch bolt is in, and there's still a little bit of movement in this, but it's not too bad. You can see that's sort of what movement we've got. So with the kit, you also, for another $10 for some of the vehicles in the Land Cruiser 200 series, is one of them, you need this, I don't know what you call it, hitch brace, or I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, we've got to put this on, and you can see there are some cutouts here, and they go around where these chains normally go if you're carrying a trailer or a caravan or something. These would go in there like that. Go that way. That's how they would go. So again, the cutout down. And then it just pinches it this way so it stops any movement. Pretty much, yeah, left or right. So then, just a matter of putting the washers on. And these are 18mm nuts. And they've also got lock nuts. So I'll just tighten these up. Yeah, and then these lock nuts go on there, but I'll just throw them on. Nope. Tighten them up. Right. Now, it takes out a lot of the movement. Okay, so next, the electrical lead. Just run that. You can run that over the top here if you want to, and then just plug it straight in here. And which way does it go? Yeah, that way. So that's it. Rightio guys, I've got the ramp just there in front of the bike carrier, so I'm going to put the ramp up in its position. So the ramp just sits in here like that. And you're supposed to pull these really tight to squeeze these brackets together, but still in my eyes it slips. It's not perfect, and you can tie these off. Okay guys, so this is how I've secured the ramp. So the bolt here that usually goes through the end here, when this is the ramp coming up here and the bike goes on that way. So I just used that bolt goes through the back of the hole here, and that way while you're traveling, this ramp can't move. So here's the view of the ramp and the bike carrier on the back of the vehicle. See the hitch there, or the hitch lock. It's wide into its plug. The ramp itself is held on by 2 straps and that bolt up the end. So yeah, it's a pretty good rack. A Rolls Royce, really. There we go. And again, there's a look of how it's attached at the back there. Magnificent work of art. Okay guys, I've got the ramp just hooked up to the carrier, and you can just see a bolt that goes through. There's a little bit of a step there, but that's the ramp. Okay guys, well here's the bike mounted on the rack and roll carrier here, just showing you my setup. So it's held on each side on the foot pegs with your turnbuckles, and there's a strap that you run around the front tyre just to stop these turnbuckles rotating while it's in travelling. I've also just thrown a couple of straps around the wheels as well, just a quick release strap there, and there's also one over on the front tyre. That's just what I've done, and also just holding it with a couple of ratchet straps on either side there. And I've also got some electrical tape just around the mud guard here, because while I'm traveling, I've noticed that this really does vibrate very rapidly, so that just holds that nice and firm while traveling. So that's how I've got this thing set up. So we'll go through the process of unloading it. So you'll see it's mounted on the back of the Land Cruiser here. So this is all set up for a Land Cruiser, and yep, let's get into it. I've also got some steps down on front here, because I'll just show you, stepping up, it's fairly high for me. I'm only 5'8", so it does help a lot to have the steps there while unloading. So anyway, let's get into it. Rightio, I'll just unload this bike, and we're all in fast motion, so here we go. Hang on. Rightio, I'll just show you loading the bike back on now. Grab the turnbuckle. Really should have these loosened off as much as you can first of all. Just clip that over there. So that's locked in. And just do the other side. Yep, there it is there. And it's going, no, so you just tighten the turnbuckles up. Alrighty, that's loading it.